You're bringing in a lot of money throughout the month, but somehow when it comes time at the end of the month, there's no money left in the bank account and you're frustrated. Sound familiar? You're not alone. My name's Dan Murch. I'm the owner of Blue Collar Back Office, and we speak with a lot of clients and potential clients, and that is an ongoing issue, cash flow, pain points. And what we're going to talk about today are the things that are causing that and the solutions that you can put in place. Now, a lot of times it comes down to really three simple things. One, the money's coming in and you just simply don't know where it's going. You're not keeping an eye on your expenses and tracking them properly. Number two, people just don't like bookkeeping. They don't like doing the numbers. They don't like doing the accounting. It's frustrating to them. They feel like it's a waste of time. I'm going to show you today how it's not a waste of time and it's not even going to take up a lot of your time. And the last thing is you simply just don't have a system in place. So we'll talk about some of the systems that you can put in place, some of them automated, to let the computer and the operation work for you to help you ease some of those cash flow headaches that you're having. Now, these are three common mistakes that we see happen over and over again. Number one, you're focused on the revenues. You're worried about growing the business, growing that top line, bringing in revenue, and you're not focused on where the money's going once it comes in. That means tracking your expenses related to the jobs, checking material costs, making sure that your overhead expenses are in line, things like that. Those things are kind of just pushed to the side because you're just so focused on heavily bringing in the revenue. The next thing is not setting aside money for taxes and profit, right? Money comes into the bank and there's no planning being done. So come tax time, this time of year around April, all of a sudden there's this big crunch when taxes are due. There's a way to avoid that. And the last thing is simply relying on your bank account to let you know how much money you have and what you have available to you. That's not always an accurate representation of how you should be using your money. There are things that you can do. There are operations that you can put in place that will help you make sure you're using your funds properly, that you're not using funds that technically should be allocated to something else already, just haven't been paid out. Now, there's a lot of different cash flow methods out there. But one that's very simple and very easy to understand is the three bucket method. So essentially, when money comes in, it goes into one of three buckets. The first being your operations, which are your expenses, overhead, payroll, material, all those typical things that have to run for the company. The next bucket should be your taxes. And depending on what bracket you're in and how you're operating, you can set aside anywhere between 15 to 35, 40%, whatever you want to do. But there should be something set aside for your taxes. And based on the historical data of your company, you can come to what a fair and equitable number for that is. The last bucket is an important bucket. That's your profit. So what you can do, it's a very simple process to implement because you can literally just open three separate bank accounts. Go down to your local branch of your bank, that whoever you use, open up three separate accounts, one for operating, one for taxes, one for profit. We've also seen companies go kind of more than that. They have a payroll account. You know, you can get crazy with it, but in this case, we're going to talk about just three buckets. So as funds come in, they come into your operational account, and then with a system in place, you're going to set aside funds into the tax account. You're going to set aside funds into the profit account. You want to be intentional about this. Your profit should be intentional. It shouldn't be just what's left over. So if you're setting your pricing, which we've talked about in past videos, if you're setting your pricing and you know that you should be generating a 10% profit, and then when money comes in, you're taking aside 70% and you're leaving it in your operations. You're taking aside 25% and you're putting it into your taxes, and you're taking aside 5% and putting it into your profit, or whatever those percentages need to be. You're setting yourself up to be successful and to have less cash flow headaches and to make sure that the profit that you should be generating is actually in the company for you. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to try to automate this as much as possible. Why? Because if you leave it manual, you're just going to find that you don't have the time to do it, right? And there's tools out there that'll make your life so much easier. Don't rely on simply spreadsheets or something along those lines because they're cumbersome and they require a lot of work. So I talk a lot about QuickBooks Online because that's the program that we use to help our clients. And there's some tools that are inside of QuickBooks Online that can make this process very easy for you. Number one, you connect all your bank feeds, you connect all your credit cards. So the transactions, everything that's happening is coming in. You're not relying on just simply looking at a bank balance online. You can make sure that you have all your checks posted. You can look at what your actual liabilities are, what your payables are, what your receivables are. You can set it up so that it automatically sends you reports on a weekly basis for you to review. You can even set up automatic transfers in the system on both your online banking and in QuickBooks so that the money is just automatically moving back and forth between your accounts on whatever interval that you want to set it at. There's lots of different options. There's lots of different ways to set it up. My point is, don't just set it aside and hope that it does it for you. Be proactive, put some automation into place, use the systems that are available to you to make your life easier and make you more profitable. Now, the final and what most might be the most important step to take is to be proactive and intentional about reviewing these things. Set aside a time each week to review your cash flow, review your finances. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It doesn't have to be like a whole day. You can set aside 15 minutes. That's sometimes all it's going to take for you to make sure that you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in your business. Make it set, make it consistent, and then stick to it. Where your intentions are, where you focus your energies, that's where you're going to get results. So typically, I like to review accounts payables on either a Monday or a Friday because I'm setting myself up for success going into the week. If I do it on a Friday, before I even leave for that weekend, I already know what's going to happen next week. If I do it on a Monday morning, I'm just setting myself up for a week of success. And this way, you review your finances, you review your receivables, you review your payables, you know what you have in the account, and now you have a plan in place. And it's not just kind of dealing with things as they come up. It's not constantly putting out fires. You have a payables plan in place. But it's important to set aside that time and make sure that you're doing it. And I know for some people that reviewing finances isn't fun. Bookkeeping isn't fun. For me, it is fun, but for a lot of people, it's not. But I promise you, it's not as painful as you think. And if you set that time aside, you will get results from it. It's not that you will get results by being focused on the finances of your company, even if it's for a short period of time each week. And you will see results in terms of your cash flow, in your profit, and the overall success of the company. So none of this is rocket science, right? None of the things we talked about today are rocket science or really hard to implement. These cash flow struggles are very common. They affect a lot of companies, but there are solutions out there that can help. So to recap, start with the 3-bucket system. Make sure that you are setting aside money appropriately for your operations, your taxes, and your profit. Remember, we want to be intentional about a profit. We want to be intentional about setting aside money for our taxes because you're going to have to pay those taxes. And if you already have that money set aside, then it's not going to cause a big stress for you at the end of the year. So that's the first step, that 3-bucket rule. The next thing is using the systems that are in place to work for you. Automate as much as you possibly can. Be on top of your finances, allocating your expenses properly, being able to see where you're spending money and let the system work for you. Don't just rely on an Excel spreadsheet or your bank balance, what you see online. And the last thing is being proactive about setting aside the time to actually review these things. Review your cash flow, review your balances, review your accounts receivables and accounts payables. Again, it's not a big time commitment that you need to set aside. It could be a very small amount of time, 15 to 30 minutes per week. Set it aside, get it done, you will get results. Now, if a simple system like that you don't think is going to work for you, or you just want to talk through any of this, this is what we're here for. This is what we live and breathe for on a daily basis. Check out our website, click the link, book a consultation with us. Happy to have a conversation about your business, what your needs are, and talk to you about what some of the processes are that you can put in place to help you eliminate some of these cash flow headaches that you might be feeling right now. Now, even with great cash flow, if your expenses aren't under control, you're going to burn through your money. Right? If your overhead expenses aren't under control, you don't know where you're spending money, you have subscriptions that you're paying for that you're not even using anymore, things like that, it can burn through your profit fast. It can eat up your cash flow fast. And those are some of the things that we're going to cover in our next video. Like always, hit that button below, like, subscribe, leave us some comments, ask us some questions. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.